Good morning, students. Welcome back to your economics subject. As usually, we are going with the third chapter of your Indian economic development. Here, we are going through the concept of liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Okay, so here, soon after the year 1991, what all things came into existence due to the financial crisis? As usually we have seen in the previous session, we have discussed about the financial sector. The next sector, what we are going to discuss is the tax reforms. So exactly what we mean here for the tax reform, these concepts comes under the liberalization. So most probably we are dealing with the liberalization concept. In that, almost we have discussed about deregulation of industrial sector, then financial sector reforms, then now at present we are going to discuss the tax reforms. Now what all the things we are going to see here in the tax reforms? So almost the physical policy. See here, as we know, our nation was under the financial crisis from the year 1980 to 1990. Due to that reason, what all things newly, the new economic policy was framed and which things came into existence, due to what reason we are discussing here. So, in the tax reforms as concerned with the reforms of the government taxation and public expenditure policies, which are collectively known as fiscal policy, as taxes and expenditure are concerned with the government uh, policies, just like the physical policies what exactly we call here. There are two types of taxes. So almost as you can see, this the physical policy is set by the government, and here we are going to see the taxation and the public expenditure policies. Most probably how much the government is making the expenditure on the development of our nation, and in that, on what basis the income is been, the revenue is been collected by the government. The almost one option for them is the taxation, where they collect the taxes from the individuals, as well as the individual taxes, as well as the corporate taxes over here. So here there are two types of taxes. Almost it is a direct tax and indirect tax. As you can see in a second point, that is what direct tax, which is been paid by the persons, those who work for, yes, the employment, the salary, whose annual salary is more than 5 lakhs. So they will be paying the individual taxes. That is what direct tax on the income of the individual, as well as the business enterprises, the businesses, they pay the taxes that we call here as a direct tax. And what is about the indirect tax? That indirect tax is nothing but the every individual who pays the taxes on purchase of any of the goods and services. See, each and every person, that is what you and we people, naturally we are the common people who are paying the indirect taxes. Indirect tax means what, the goods and services what we purchase over here, they charge you nearly 14%. Now it has extended, see, 9% or GST, central GST 9%, our state GST, by combiningly 18% tax you will be paying on the purchase of your goods and services. So this is all about the indirect taxes. And direct tax is directly the income, the personal income of the individuals, if it crosses to 5 lakhs, and the business enterprises, the corporate taxes what we call here, we can pay that, which come under the direct taxes. So this is all about. Let's see individually what exactly it means. The direct taxes consist of taxes on income of individuals, obviously the income of individual, as well as profits of business enterprises. Since from year 1991, business enterprises were continuously reduced. Maximally, first they were having more taxation, means more taxes were collected from the business enterprises. They started to reduce the taxation. They reduced the taxation of individual incomes as well as the businesses. So here, almost the individual incomes were most important reason for tax evasion. It is now widely accepted in the moderate rates of income tax, encouraging savings and voluntary disclosure of income. See, previously what happens, the income tax was very less. Means on 2 lakhs rupees, they used to charge you the income tax of your individual's income. Then 2.5. Now totally it has extended to 5 lakhs rupees. Now if your annual income is more than 5 lakhs, you are being taxable now, individual income. The same way the tax rates for the corporate or the business enterprises as are the same, but the taxation is totally different as the individuals. Okay, that we call there as a corporate taxes. The rate of corporate tax, which was very high earlier, has been generally reduced. Effect efforts have been also made to reform the indirect taxes. Taxes levied on commodities in order to facilitate the establishment of the national market for the goods and services. Another component of reforms in this area is to simplification in order to encourage better compliance on the part of the taxpayers. Many producers have been simplified and the rate also substantially lowered. Recently, Indian Parliamentary Board, that is what Indian Parliamentary Board has reduced the taxation, and now at present we pay GST. Do you all know what is GST? GST
Yes,
is,
sir.
yes.
Yes, sir.
If you all know, tell me what it is. GST,
Sir, goods services tax it is, sir.
goods and service tax.
Yes,
Previously,
yes,
they
sir.
used to take VAT, value added tax on the goods. So now it has been
Yes, sir.
changed. The Indian Parliament passes a law that calling as a Goods and Service Tax Act 2016. Now,
Yes,
as
sir.
whenever each and every person, the individual of our nation will pay the tax. See, when you go and purchase the any of the things, the goods, you will be charged. If you are purchasing a normal mobile phones, you will be paying 18% tax. Have you all seen that?
Yes, sir.
See, this is what all about the tax reforms. So as you can see that corporate taxes were reduced and even the individual tax rates were reduced and simplifying the compliances. So they were encouraged to save more. Now the people are saving more. As you can see here, your individual incomes also are being shown, and even the corporate or the business profits on which the taxes are being levied, that are been extended and the tax rate has been reduced. Due to that was the tax reforms took place, and this changes took place in the year after 1991. Let's go for next part. So next it comes to the foreign exchange reforms. See here in the foreign exchange reforms, we are going to see many of the things. Here we are having foreign exchange reforms as well as trade and investment policy reforms as well. So here two things we are going to discuss. See, when it comes to the foreign exchange reforms, our money value for the foreign exchange with the other currency has been fallen down. We have rupee was devalued. See, rupee's value was fallen down. As you can see there, rupee was devalued. Then the first important reform in the external sector was made in the foreign exchange market in the year 1991, and as an immediate measure to resolve the balance of payment crisis, the rupee was devalued against the foreign currency. Obviously, our value was devalued. The rupee value was devalued. At present, for $1 we are going to pay nearly 75 rupees. Means we are losing our value of our rupees. That is one of the thing. Then this is led to increase in a inflow of foreign exchange. This is due to the inflow of foreign exchange only. Due to that, there was a devaluation of our rupee. Then it also set the tune of free determination of rupee value in the foreign exchange. Now, foreign exchange market from government control. Now, more often than not, market determines exchange rate based on demand and supply of foreign exchange. Now totally it is dependent on the foreign exchange market. Now here on the basis of demand and supply, the foreign exchange is been made, the currency which is been made. See, if you are purchasing nearly $1, you are going to pay 75 rupees. Okay, that is one of the thing here. So here the foreign exchange reforms were introduced after that 1991. We got the rupee devaluation, means we have lost our value, rupee value, as compared to the foreign exchange. Then let's see the next one part, that is what tax reforms, sorry, trade reforms, trade and investment reforms, what we exactly call over here. So here in trade and investment reforms, liberalization of trade and liberalization investment regime was intimated to the increase in international competitiveness. See, obviously, when you made the liberalization, there the international competitiveness was increased. See, in the industrial production, and also the foreign investments and technology into economy. See, when the doors are open for everyone, that time what happens here? You are going to get the modernizations, mean new technology has been brought into our nation, and that will affect the trade efficiency, and the modernization takes place over here. So that is what you can see, the trade efficiency increases, the competitiveness increases over here. Then the aim was also to promote the efficiency of the local industries and adopt the modern technology. Obviously, there should be an increase in trade efficiency. The trade should increase. Then even the modernization, modern technology has to be brought into existence. That was the main important thing to make the liberalization. Okay, so here all the modern technology was brought and adopted in our nation. That is what we are going to see in this. Then further, in order to protect domestic industry, India was following a regime quantitative restriction. Quantitative restrictions on imports, means maximally we reduced importing the goods from other countries. That was the main important part to develop our Indian market as well as our developers. See, those who were having the industries, they tried to increase the our Indian market as well as the Indian domestic marketer, or the domestic industrialists were secured here, and the quantitative restrictions were applied for the importing the goods. They started to restrict the imports, and they started to develop our Indian market here. So here industries were developed, our domestic industries were developed over here. They protected domestic market, and quantitative restrictions on the imports were kept. So keeping tariffs high and import tights, means they started to increase the tariffs. That is what the tariff which has been paid on receiving the goods. That is what customs duties, taxes, what will be levied on the exports and imports. Okay, then further, these policies reduce efficiency of competitiveness, which led to slow growth of manufacturing sector. See, here we started, the manufacturing sector was very slowly growing up. Then the trade policy reforms aimed to dismantling the quantitative restrictions on the import and export. Then reduction of tariff rates and removal of licensing procedure for imports. See, here there was a abolishing of the import licensing. The licensing of the importing the goods were removed, and then further import licensing was abolished. That was stopped in case of hazardous and the environmentally sensitive industries. See, quantitative restrictions on import of manufactured consumer goods and agriculture products was also fully removed from the year 2000, April 2001. All the restrictions were removed. Then export duties were removed out. Means what? export duties have been removed to increase the competitive position in the Indian market from the international market. Here, they started to remove the uh, duties. That is what we call here as a export duties were removed, and they started to compete. Our nation started to compete with our international market. See, even our people in a few of the sectors like atomic, at this one, our cars manufacturing, in that our Indian people have captured the foreign companies. They have purchased, they have invested in large quantity the manufacturing companies, just like one of our Tata plant, which has been captured. That Tata people, the Tata Nano, what was been introduced, they have captured, the taken over the Jaguar company of car manufacturing, automobile industry. They have, in the automobile industry, they have overtaken Jaguar company. Means they now at present, the Tata are the owners for that Jaguar company. That is what the international market they are ruling now. Our nation as well has been developed, and they are competing with the international market. Okay, that is what the exactly what trade reforms took place soon after the 1991. Okay, so let's see the next part, which it is there. Next comes with the privatization. Now, what exactly this privatization means? What we are going to see in this privatization? It is one of the smallest part. That is what liberalization as we ended now. So now it comes to the privatization. Means what privatization means? Here, in general, if we see, the government was not capable enough to pay the loans which were taken by the government, and here the revenue earned was very less. Due to that reasons, as I told you in the previous sessions, here the Indian government was holding nearly the 17 sectors, but after that, due to this reason, they tried and in made the private peoples to come into existence, and more than 50% or 50% part of the sectors were sold for the private peoples and made them to invest in the sectors. Now, obviously, one thing in the previous session, as I told you, the government is holding 2 to 3 sectors monopoly. That is what the railway sector, and one more the atomic energy sector, which is totally controlled and managed by the government. And one more, it was the defense equipments. The defense equipments, one is a sector, that one sector, then atomic energy sector and railway transport sector is been totally controlled by the government. Now here remaining many of the sectors were made the privatized, which were there. See, as the ratio, what exactly we know is nearly 17 sectors were there under the control of our government. Then after that, nearly 15 sectors were removed out. They gave the private peoples the opportunity to develop them. Then further, we started to go for privatization. That was what in the year 1991 the LPG took place. Now, what all things came into existence? Let's discuss over here. See, privatization, it implies shedding of ownership or management of the government owned enterprises. The government companies are converted into private companies. That is what the government companies were converted into private companies. As you can see there, the government tried to convert that public companies into private companies, shedding the ownership. Shedding means sharing the ownership. Now the government wants to bring or come out of the financial crisis what took place of soon after the year 1980 to 1990. That is what the expenses were more than the income. That time they fall under the financial crisis. So to come out of that, they tried to share the ownership. So that was the privatization. The government shared the ownership with the private people. Then there are two ways: by withdrawing the government from the ownership and the management of public sector companies. They what they did, they withdraw the ownership and the management from the sectors, and they gave the opportunity to the private peoples over there. Then that is what shedding of ownership of government, that is what they shed, means what they took that much part of the ratio, the investment out, and they gave the private peoples to run the thing. Then next one, what? Outright sell of public sector companies. They have made the sales, that is what outright sell of public sector companies. Few of the public sector companies were sold to the private peoples to develop our nation. That was the main important point over here. Then next comes with the privatization of the public sector enterprises by selling off part of equities, that is what PSE, what we call here public sector equities, to known as disinvestment. The government started to make disinvestment. What it disinvestment means? They invested amount were removed out. Whatever the amount they have invested, that they removed it from the companies, that is what the business is, and they gave the same part to the private people. That is what we call here as a disinvestment, the word we call here. This started to sell their equities to the public, that is what private peoples. Then the purpose of sale according to the government was mainly to improve the financial discipline and facilitate modernization. What was the reason to make the disinvestment? To improve the financial sector as well as the facilities, to modernize that, to improve and modernize the sector. Then it was also investigate the private capital and the managerial capabilities could be effectively utilized to improve the the performance of the public sector utility. See, the government started to look after the performance of the private people and the public sector to improve it. Okay, that was the main important point, was to bring up foreign direct investment as well in our private, that is what the to the private people, that is through the private people even our Indian as well as the foreign direct investment started to come here and invest in our businesses. Then the government investigated that privatization could provide strong inputs of inflow of FDI, that is what improve performance, and even the FDI took place over here. Then government has also made attempt to improve the efficiency of public sector units by using the autonomy in taking managerial decisions. Then, for instance, some public sector units have been granted special status, Maharatnas, then Navratnas and Mini Ratnas. See, they have even given certain status, special status, that is what Maharatnas, Navratnas and Mini Ratnas. You can see that in the slide. Here we are having, in the next slide we can have the discussion about this. That is what Ratnas means what, and public enterprises policies. In the next slide you can go through it. See here, you can see that you must have been have read in your childhood about the Navratnas. What are that Navratnas? Do you all remember any of the things? Any of you all know about this Navratnas?
That means 9 jewels.
Hmm?
The 9 jewels.
Yes. Do you all remember about it? Here you can see here. What are that? See, you must have been read in your childhood about the famous Navaratnas and 9 jewels in the imperial court of King Vikramaditya. who were eminent persons of excellence in the field of art, literature, and knowledge. In 1996, in order to improve efficiency, infuse professionalism, and enable them to compete more effectively and liberalize global investment, the government closed 9 public sector units and declared them as Navratnas. They closed how many? 9 public sector units and declared them as Navratnas. That is what they were given greater marginal and operational autonomy. It takes in taking various decisions to run the company efficiently. Okay, to run the efficiently, they were given the authorities over there. Okay, that is what we call here as a autonomy. Thus, to increase the profits, greater operation and the financial and the managerial autonomy has been granted to 97 other profit making enterprises referred to as mini Ratnas, nearly 97 other profit making enterprises. Now, the first step of Navratna companies included, which are that Navratna companies here, as we can see here: Indian Oil Corporation Limited, IOC; Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited, BPCL; then Hindustan Petroleum Corporate Limited, HPCL; Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited, ONGC; Steel Authority of India Limited, SAIL, SAIL, what we call here; then Indian Petrochemical Corporation Limited, IPCL; then Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, BHEL, BHEL; then National Terminal Power Corporation, NTPC; and Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited, VSNL. Later, 2 more public sector units: Gas Authority of Indian Limited, GAIL; then Mahanagar Telecom Nigam Limited, MTNL, were also given the same status. See, these are the Navaratnas. That is what the private people who developed the develop the units. That is what the public sector units, what we exactly know here. See, many of these profitable public sector units were originally formed during the 1950s and 1960s, when self-reliance was an important element for the public policy. They were set up with the intention to provide infrastructure and direct employment to the public. So the quality and product reaches the masses at a nominal cost, and the companies themselves were made accountable to all shareholders. See, these companies tried to take their own decision, and they started to develop the infrastructure facilities, and even the employment were given for the people. This is what the main important part, what exactly we came across. Then the granting of Navaratna status resulted in better performance of these companies. So obviously, what name they gave to them, what these 9 companies came into existence, they started to develop. The performance was obviously the good one. The scholars stated that instead of facilitating Navratnas in the expansion and enabling them to become global players, the government partly privatized them through disinvestment. That is what the private people were given the opportunity. They started to disinvestment. The government started to uh, disinvest in this company, and the private people were given the opportunity to develop it, and they were developed. See, often of late, the government has decided to retain the Navratnas in the public sector and enable them to expand themselves and global market and raise resources by themselves from the financial market. So even they are now the public sectors. Okay, so we call them as a public sectors. So here the government is taking the over the control over this, and obviously they started to rule the market. So this is all about the privatization. So next part what we will be discussing will be the globalization, and that we will be discussing in the next session. So for today, as we have discussed about the tax reforms, then foreign exchange and trade and investment reforms, then soon after that, that is what the privatization what we have discussed now. The remaining part, the globalization, will be discussed in the next session.